Before we begin, if you are watching this for the first time, welcome. And if you are one of those loyal souls who have been here since the beginning, may every good thing you have been waiting for finally find its way to your door. Now, let us get into this. Dubai True Crime. Two words that carry weight because this city, with its glass towers and golden light and perfectly polished surfaces, is not the kind of place where people expect the worst to happen. And yet, here we are. Stop what you are doing right now. Because the story you are about to hear is going to stay with you. Not for a day. Not for a week. Long after this video ends, you are going to think about a woman named Soleil Navarro. You are going to think about what she built. And you are going to think about what it cost her. Soleil Navarro was 29 years old. She was a kindergarten teacher at a prestigious international school in Dubai. She had not missed a single school day in 4 years without calling ahead. She sent money home to her family in the Philippines every single month without exception. She had 47 laminated name cards on her classroom wall, each one placed by her own hands, each one belonging to a child she had taught. She called it the wall of people who already know they matter. On a Tuesday evening in March at exactly 5:31 p.m., the school's parking structure camera captured her crossing the ground floor toward her white Honda Fit in Bay 34. Her bag was over her left shoulder. Her car keys were already in her right hand. She was walking the way she always walked on Tuesday evenings. Without hesitation. Without looking back. She did not know it yet. But that was the last time anyone would see her alive. By Wednesday morning, 16 5-year-olds were sitting in their classroom chairs, waiting. The lesson plan was open on the teacher's desk. A coffee mug from Tuesday sat on the windowsill, a dried ring at the base where the liquid had settled overnight. And the door that those 16 children kept looking at did not open. Soleil Navarro did not disappear because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She disappeared because someone made a decision. A deliberate, calculated, cold decision. And what makes this Dubai true crime case unlike anything I have ever covered is that the decision was made at a kitchen table by a mother, based on a single answer to a third question. We are going to follow this case step by step, together. At several points, I'm going to ask you to think like an investigator. What would you have done? What would you have missed? Stay with me. This is only the beginning. Soleil Navarro came to Dubai at 23 years old from a coastal town in the Philippines, where her father went out on the water before sunrise and her mother took in seamstress work at the kitchen table. She was the eldest of 4 children, which, if you know anything about Filipino family culture, tells you everything you need to know. Being the eldest is not just a birth order. It is a job description. She graduated from university ranked in the top 10% of her education cohort. She applied for a UAE teaching visa because Dubai paid 4 times what Manila paid for the same work. She did not do this because she was chasing luxury. She did it because she had done the arithmetic and the arithmetic only had one answer. She landed at Greenfield International School, and her principal, Heloise Mabry, later wrote in her personnel file that Soleil's classroom observation was the most naturally gifted she had conducted in 9 years of hiring teachers. What made Soleil remarkable was not just her technique. It was something harder to measure. She treated 5-year-olds as full human beings whose interior lives mattered. She memorized every child's name before the first day of school. She remembered every parent's name, every personal detail from previous conversations. And then there was the wall. Every child she had ever taught in 4 years at Greenfield. 47 names in children's own handwriting, laminated and placed on the wall with the same care she applied to everything in that room. The 47th name, Tobias, had been added just 2 months before she disappeared. She sent $5,900 home to the Philippines every single month. 60% of her teaching salary. She paid her youngest brother's school fees, her father's boat maintenance, the household bills her family could not cover alone. She saved $400 a month into what she called her someday account. By the time she vanished, that account held $47,200, accumulated $400 at a time. She had an Arabic textbook on her nightstand. She was on chapter 9. She intended, by every measurable indicator of how she organized her life, to stay in this city for a long time. Now, here is where I need you to slow down with me. What I have just described is one version of Soleil Navarro. Completely accurate. Completely true. But not the only version. The second version is the one that is going to make you stare at your screen and wonder how both of those people lived inside the same body for 4 years without anyone knowing. What do you think she was hiding? Because she was hiding something. And it was enormous. Wednesday morning. 3 a.m. Principal Heloise Mabry called Soleil's mobile. No answer. She called again at 8:17. No answer. She sourced a substitute, placed her in Soleil's room, and stood in the corridor looking through the glass panel at the lesson plan open on the desk. Phonics at 8:15. Number recognition at 9. Free drawing at 10:30. The word she used in her notes about Soleil's absence was uncontactable. Not missing. Not gone. Uncontactable. Because uncontactable felt manageable and the word forming underneath it did not. And then a parent called. The parent was the mother of a 5-year-old girl named Zara. Zara had said something at lunch that her mother had initially received the way you receive a child's story, half listening, half nodding, pouring juice. And then she stopped pouring the juice and she really listened. Zara told her mother that the previous Tuesday, Miss Soleil had been crying at her desk. When Zara asked why, Miss Soleil said that sometimes grown-ups get scared. And that being brave means doing the right thing even when you are scared. A 5-year-old child had been carrying that for an entire week. Not because she understood what it meant, but because she had felt its weight and decided to give it to someone larger to carry. The mother called the school. Principal Mabry understood within 60 seconds that Soleil's absence was not administrative. She called Dubai police at 2:15 p.m. The missing person report was opened at 3:47 p.m. Dubai true crime cases often hinge on tiny moments. On a detail someone almost dismissed. If Zara's mother had said that is sweet, honey, and moved on, this case might have gone cold before it started. Think about that. Thursday morning, 6:15 a.m., a road maintenance worker named Hamoud was conducting his pre-dawn inspection on a service road off the Dubai Aleen Highway when he noticed a white Honda Fit parked on the gravel shoulder. Driver's door slightly ajar. Engine off and cold. On the dashboard was a school ID lanyard. In the cup holder, a pair of sunglasses. Her phone was not in the car. Her bag was not in the car. And in the desert beyond the gravel shoulder, tire tracks from a second vehicle. A wider wheelbase. Heavier. The tracks ran south into the open desert. And they did not come back. Hamoud called 999 at 6:22 a.m. The patrol unit ran the plates, found Soleil's name, found the active missing person report, and escalated immediately. The question now was not where Soleil Navarro was. The desert south of that service road was already answering that question. The real question was who brought her there. And what on earth had a kindergarten teacher done that required someone to drive her into the Dubai desert on a Tuesday night in March and not bring her back? Stay right there. Because the answer is about to completely reframe everything I have told you. Detective Amara Suleiman was 38 years old, 15 years in the Dubai Police Department, attached to a missing persons and homicide crossover unit that handled cases where the classification was still unclear and the cost of getting it wrong was too high. Her partner, Detective Nasim Al-Qadiri, was 34, 6 years in the division, and had the very specific gift of knowing when to stop talking when Amara was thinking. That is not a small skill. That is a partnership. They drove to the service road on Thursday afternoon. And what Amara did when she arrived tells you exactly who she was as an investigator. She did not go straight to the car. She walked the full length of the service road first. The whole frame before any of the pieces. It was her habit, and she said it had never once in 15 years produced less information than going straight to the obvious thing. No active cameras on this service road stretch. The nearest functioning CCTV was 4.3 kilometers north. Nasim walked there and back on foot while Amara processed the scene. The gravel shoulder isolation was deliberate. Someone had selected this road knowing it was used primarily by maintenance vehicles on a twice-weekly schedule. A vehicle could sit here from Tuesday evening to Thursday morning without being found by anyone with a reason to stop. Second vehicle, stationary alongside the Honda Fit for between 15 and 40 minutes. Gravel displacement consistent with weight transferred from one vehicle to another before the heavier vehicle moved south. The track ran one direction into the desert and did not return. Amara stood beside the white Honda Fit and looked at Soleil's school ID on the dashboard. A small laminated photograph. A woman looking directly at the camera with the composed certainty of someone who has decided to present themselves as exactly what they are. She looked at the ID for a long time. Then she looked at the desert. She understood within the first hour that Soleil Navarro had not walked away willingly. Someone had brought her here. The question was who had made that decision and what Soleil had done that made her a problem requiring this particular solution. What Amara did not yet know, the secondary phone, the offshore accounts, the false bottom in the toiletry bag, the 8 coded contacts, the $2.3 million accumulated over 4 years from men who had paid because the alternative cost them more. She was building on the visible surface of a case with a completely different architecture underneath. That surface would hold for 3 more days before the apartment search changed everything. Comment below right now. Who do you think made the decision? Let us see how close you get. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it before the next segment. The part where a voice message recorded with a tap running becomes the most devastating piece of evidence in this entire case is coming. It began not with calculation but with accident. That detail is important. She was not a criminal mastermind who set out to build an empire. She was a woman who stumbled into something and then made a choice. A married businessman met her at a school fundraising event in her second year in Dubai. The relationship lasted 3 months. When he stopped returning her calls, she discovered she had a photograph from a hotel evening. Not taken strategically. Simply the casual photographic record of an evening that he would pay serious money to prevent his wife from seeing. She sat with the photograph for 3 days. She looked at what he had and what she had. And she sent the message. He paid the equivalent of $23,000. She opened an offshore account and sent the rest home to the Philippines, attributed to a teaching bonus. She recorded a voice message to her cousin Maricel years later describing that moment. Not proud. Not ashamed. Clear. She said, I know what I was doing was not right. But I looked at what he had and what I had and I thought this is available. I took it. From that point she was surgical. Over the following 4 years she selected 7 more targets. Married. High net worth. Prominent enough to have something substantial to protect, but not so prominent that their resources could resolve a problem outside channels Soleil understood. She prepared hotel rooms in advance with a wide-angle lens at a fixed position. Time capture. Secondary phone exclusively for all contact after the photographs were taken. Amounts calibrated to each man's financial profile. Large enough to constitute real pain. Small enough to be paid without asset conversions that attract attention. Every man she selected had exactly one viable response. Pay and be silent. They paid. They were silent. And in the margins of all of this, she taught 47 children their names. She called her mother every Sunday. She saved $400 a month. She studied Arabic. 2 completely separate lives for 4 years without a single crack. $2.3 million. 8 targets. Not one complaint to authorities. Until she attended the October fundraising gala in her 4th year and a man named Rayyan Albait walked through the entrance, found her within 20 minutes, asked about the wall of names, and listened to the answers with the attention of someone genuinely interested rather than performing interest. A distinction Soleil recognized because she had spent 4 years around men who performed rather than felt. She created the folder on her secondary phone 4 months into their relationship. Target 8. Same coded structure. Same time capture. But by the time the folder existed, she already knew that activating it would cost her something the previous 7 had not. She was less careful. Because she was also in love. And those 2 things, I promise you, do not travel in the same direction. Rayyan Albait was 33 years old, youngest son of a prominent Dubai real estate family, educated in London, returned to work in the family development company. The arrangement his father had always intended, which Rayyan had always understood was the arrangement, without ever examining whether he had chosen it or simply occupied it the way you occupy a furnished room that was ready before you arrived. He found Soleil at the October gala within 20 minutes. He asked about the wall of names and not as a social performance. He asked the follow-up question. And then the question after that. She told him about the Arabic textbook and the idea of belonging to a place because you had worked toward it rather than landed in it. He told her that was the most honest thing anyone had said to him at one of those events in 4 years. 7 months before Soleil disappeared, Rayyan brought her to a dinner party at a business associate's villa. 14 people at a long table. Across the table, watching Soleil from the moment she was introduced, was a property developer named Walid Al-Mansouri. 49 years old. Business associate of the Albait family for over a decade. Walid Al-Mansouri was the man Soleil's secondary phone coded as Target 3. He had paid her $60,000 across 11 months 2 years earlier, in silence so complete that Soleil had not thought about him in over a year. Walid said nothing at the dinner. He called Rayyan the following morning. The call lasted 23 minutes. After it, Rayyan's phone showed no outgoing activity of any kind for 4 hours. No calls. No messages. No data. 4 hours of silence while Rayyan sat with the knowledge that the woman who had said the most honest thing he had heard in years had spent 2 previous years extracting $60,000 from the man who had just called him. He sat with it for 2 weeks, trying to determine whether the relationship had been real or whether he had been targeted from the beginning. He could not determine it. And the uncertainty was something Rayyan Albait, who had never in 33 years been required to tolerate not knowing what he wanted, did not know how to manage. Then Soleil told him she was pregnant. 11 weeks. She told him over dinner she had brought from a restaurant she knew he liked. She said she expected him to formalize the relationship or face the consequences. She did not specify them. She did not need to. Walid had already specified them 23 minutes earlier. Then came the hotel meeting in the financial district, which Rayyan proposed as a conversation and which Soleil attended knowing she would need to assess in real time what kind of conversation it actually was. She understood within 20 minutes. He was not the frightened man deciding what to do about a relationship. He was a man running a calculation. She recognized it because she had run it herself. As she stood to leave, she said, "I know what you were doing just now." He said nothing. She walked to the elevator and did not look back. She went home. She ran the tap. She recorded 6 minutes and 14 seconds in Tagalog. She named Rayyan Albait in the first 30 seconds. She described the pregnancy, the hotel meeting, and what she had understood in that room. And then she said the sentence Detective Amara Suleiman would play 11 times across this investigation. "I know what I have done. I know what I am. I'm not telling you this because I am innocent. I am telling you this because I am scared and because knowing what I am does not mean what happens to me does not matter." She sent the file to her cousin Maricel. She said, "If nothing happens, delete this. If something happens, take it to the consulate and tell them the name I said at the beginning. Just the name." She turned off the tap. She went to bed. She had 3 days left. She did not know it. 6 days after the hotel meeting, Rayyan Albait sat down at the kitchen table with his mother. Her name was Lourdes Albait, 58 years old. She had managed the domestic architecture of the Albait family for 30 years with the same precision her husband applied to building their business empire. 3 residential towers were visible from the highway where Soleil's car would later be found. The family villa sat behind gates on a street where the houses did not display price tags because the people who could afford them did not need to be told. Rayyan told her everything. Not in pieces. In full. The relationship. The gala. Walid's call. The 2 weeks of uncertainty. The hotel meeting. The pregnancy 11 weeks. The secondary phone. The offshore accounts. The coded contacts. The 7 prior targets. The $2.3 million. The engagement to a family in Abu Dhabi whose daughter he would be photographed beside at a spring ceremony. He handed her the problem in its entirety and waited for her to locate the solution. Because that is what Rayyan had always done. And it had always worked. Until now. Lourdes was quiet. Then she asked 3 questions. The first, how long has this been going on? 14 months. The second, how much does she know about the family's finances? Specifically the family's, not just yours. Rayyan said he did not believe Soleil had accessed anything beyond the ordinary footprint of the relationship. Lourdes nodded. The third question. What route does she drive home from the school? Rayyan told her. He told her Soleil drove south from Greenfield on Tuesdays, took the Aline Road because the main highway ran heavy in the afternoon. He told her Soleil stayed until 5:30 to finish her weekly lesson planning. He told her she drove a white Honda Fit and parked in Bay 34. He knew what the third question meant. The trial would return to this point for months. Did Rayyan Albait understand with complete clarity what he was enabling? Or had he retreated into the willed unawareness of a man who has decided not to fully know something because full knowledge requires full accountability? What the record shows is that he answered it. He told his mother the route and the day and the time in the car. Then he drove home and attended a design review meeting the following morning and contributed 3 items to the agenda. Lourdes made 2 phone calls after Rayyan left. The first was to a man named Bashar Murad. The second was to confirm the catering arrangements for the engagement dinner the following Thursday. 2 phone calls. 1 to end a life. 1 to arrange the flowers. I'm going to pause here and ask you directly, at what point in this story does it stop being complicated? A lot of people, when they hear about Soleil's second life, want to make the story simple. She was doing something wrong, so what happened to her was somehow explained. And I want you to sit with how completely wrong that is. A woman was 11 weeks pregnant and was driven into the desert. What she had done changes 0% of what was done to her. 0%. Comment below. Tell me where you stand. Bashar Murad was 47 years old, Lebanese, operating in Dubai under a consulting firm whose commercial license listed corporate logistics and private security services. No criminal record in the UAE. Connected to the Albait family for 11 years, initially through a legitimate security contract, subsequently through the informal retained relationship that families with resources develop with people who resolve problems without creating documentation. He had handled 3 prior matters for the family. All 3 were financial. None had required what Lourdes described on the phone that Tuesday evening. She used the word containment. She said the family's exposure extended beyond Rayyan personally. She said she needed it resolved without visibility. The usual arrangement applied. Bashar asked 2 questions. The route and the schedule. Lourdes read from the notes she had made at the kitchen table while Rayyan was talking. She had known she would need them. He sourced 2 men. He rented a Toyota Land Cruiser, older model, dark gray, wider wheelbase, cash transaction, name that was not his. The company's security camera captured him from the right side, partial angle, insufficient for standalone identification but sufficient for corroboration. He drove the route on Monday afternoon, timing the drive, identifying the service road off the highway. He confirmed it on a pre-dawn reconnaissance Tuesday morning. He briefed his 2 men. At 5:31 p.m. on Tuesday, Soleil Navarro locked her classroom door and walked to Bay 34. At 5:38, one of Bashar's men confirmed she had taken the Aline Road south, exactly as Rayyan had said she always did. The forensic record shows the rental Land Cruiser stationary alongside the Honda Fit for between 15 and 40 minutes. Gravel compression consistent with weight transferred from one vehicle to the other. The Honda Fit remaining. The Land Cruiser moving south. Not returning. The toll gate 4 kilometers north recorded the vehicle outbound at 9:43 p.m. and returning toward the city at 1:17 a.m. The following Thursday, Rayyan Albait attended his engagement dinner. He was photographed standing beside his fiancée. The photograph appeared on the family's social media the following morning. He is looking directly at the camera. He is smiling. Now, here is the detail I need you to carry. When the prosecution's forensic accountant, a meticulous man named Rami Hadawi, followed the money through 4 layers of corporate structure, he arrived at a payment from an Albait Group subsidiary to Bashar Murad's consulting firm. The invoice was dated the Wednesday after Soleil's death, the morning after she was killed. Bashar Murad billed the Albait family for the murder the day after it happened. The family paid within 7 business days through their standard accounts payable process. Rami Hadawi submitted his final report with 1 note at the bottom: paid on time. No disputes raised. This is not a Dubai true crime case of passion or impulse. This is a case of administration. A receipt. A line item. 3 days into the investigation, before the body was found, Detective Amara executed an apartment search. She and Nasim walked into the home of a woman who had organized her life like she was expecting to live it for a very long time. A kitchen wall calendar with school schedule blocks in blue and personal reminders in red, including one notation repeated on every Sunday for the entire year: call mama. An Arabic textbook on the nightstand, chapters 1 through 8 tabbed as completed, chapter 9 marked, continue. A framed family photograph on the windowsill, her parents and 3 siblings on a Philippine beach, everyone squinting slightly into the afternoon sun. A savings account passbook in the top desk drawer, $47,200 accumulated $400 at a time. Nasim was working through the bathroom cabinet when he found it. A black nylon toiletry bag at the back of the lower shelf, placed with the intentionality of something being kept rather than casually stored. He pressed the base at the corners. The 4th corner depressed slightly. He pressed harder. The false bottom released. Inside, sealed in a plastic bag, a secondary phone, powered off. He called to Amara without raising his voice. She came to the doorway, looked at the false bottom, looked at Nasim. Neither of them said anything. The phone was in digital forensics by 2 p.m. 6 hours and 53 minutes of decryption later, the password cracked. 8 coded contacts. No real names. 2 offshore banking applications, 1 Seychelles, 1 Hong Kong. Combined balance approximately $2.3 million. Transfer records from 7 distinct sources over 4 years, all routed through jurisdictions selected for limited disclosure. 8 photograph folders, wide-angle lens, fixed position, timed capture, subjects completely unaware. The word Amara wrote in her notes to describe them was sufficient, because that was what Soleil had calibrated them to be. Enough to constitute a threat. No more than the threat required. The 8th folder matched to Rayyan Albait contained 5 photographs. The most recent dated 2 months before Soleil's disappearance, 4 months after the engagement announcement. Soleil had continued building the folder after she knew about the engagement, meaning it was being prepared for activation at approximately the same time Rayyan was at a kitchen table telling his mother everything. 2 parallel preparations running toward each other across the same 2-month window. At 2:30 a.m., Amara wrote 1 sentence in her case file margin. The second life explains the motive. It does not explain the decision. Find the decision. She underlined it. She went home at 3:15 and returned at 7. By the time the call came about the geological survey team 14 kilometers south of the service road, she had already written Rayen Albate's name at the top of a new page. Already submitted warrants for cell tower data, phone records, and toll gate records for every vehicle in the Albate portfolio. She drove south. She drove back. She continued building. This is what investigation looks like in a Dubai true crime case. You do not wait for one piece to confirm the next. You build in every direction simultaneously. Soleil Navarro's body was found 23 days after her disappearance by a geological survey team, 14 kilometers south of the service road. Cause of death, asphyxiation. Time in the ground, approximately 20 days. Section 4 of the pathology report. She was 11 weeks pregnant at the time of her death. The voice message arrived 11 days after the body was identified. Soleil's cousin Maricel had received it at midnight on the night Soleil recorded it. She had held it for 14 days, waiting because she did not know which authority in Dubai would listen to a cousin calling from the Philippines to report a feeling. When the Philippine consular officer contacted her following the identification, Maricel sent the file within the hour with one message. She told me exactly what to do if something happened. I waited too long. Please make sure someone listens to it. Amara and Nasim played the 6 minutes and 14 seconds in a closed office. The tap running throughout. Rayen Albate's full name in the first 30 seconds. The pregnancy. The hotel meeting. And then the sentence. I know what I have done. I know what I am. I'm not telling you this because I am innocent. I am telling you this because I am scared and because knowing what I am does not mean what happens to me does not matter. When it ended, Nasim looked at his desk. Amara looked at the wall above her monitor. Neither spoke for a long moment. The trial began in Dubai Criminal Court 7 months after the arrests. Every seat in the gallery was occupied on the first morning and for every session that followed. The Filipino community in Dubai maintained a visible presence throughout. Consular representatives at every permitted briefing, vigils outside the Philippine Overseas Workers Office, photographs of Soleil held by people who had never met her but understood that cases involving foreign nationals require continuous attention to remain priorities. Senior prosecutor Nadia Al-Hamidai addressed Soleil's second life in the first 5 minutes, before the defense could use it as their primary frame. She told the court, Soleil Navarro was a criminal. She extorted 8 men across 4 years. None of this is in dispute. None of this is what this trial is about. A woman's history of wrongdoing does not constitute authorization for her execution. The prosecution asks this court to evaluate a decision made at a kitchen table when a mother asked a son what route a woman drove home, and the son answered. In her closing argument, Al-Hamidai referenced Zara without using her name. A 5-year-old girl understood something about bravery that the defendant's entire family, with all its resources and all its carefully constructed problem resolution infrastructure, did not. Being brave means doing the right thing when you are scared. Miss Soleil told her that. Miss Soleil was still trying to act on it when she ran out of time. The court deliberated for 8 days. Bashar Murad, convicted of murder and criminal conspiracy. Life imprisonment. He showed no expression, consistent with every expression across the entire trial. The expression of a man who had reviewed a contract and found it enforceable. The 2 hired men, convicted as co-conspirators. 22 years each. Lured Albate, convicted of criminal conspiracy to commit murder and accessory to murder. Life imprisonment. When the verdict was read, she looked at her attorney and after a moment she looked at the table. The architecture had held for 30 years. The court held it for 8 days and found it sufficient. Rayen Albate, convicted of criminal conspiracy to commit murder. 20 years. When the verdict was read, he looked at the floor and continued looking at it while the courtroom cleared and Maricel stood and walked toward the exit without once looking at the defendant's table. He was 33 years old. He had been required to choose once. At a kitchen table. He answered the third question. The floor of a Dubai criminal court is what that answer looked like when 20 years of it was set down in one place. Maricel flew back to the Philippines the day after sentencing. She said one thing to the consular officer at the airport. She told me exactly what to do if something happened and I waited 14 days before I did it. The consular officer told her she had done exactly what Soleil asked. Maricel said, I know. That is what I have to live with. Soleil's someday account, $47,200 accumulated $400 at a time, was transferred to her mother Remedios. The offshore accounts, reduced by legal and estate fees, were also transferred to Remedios. She received both with the stillness of a woman absorbing something she understands imperfectly and accepts completely. She continues to attend the 6 a.m. mass she attended every morning while Soleil was in Dubai, and the Sunday phone calls were still coming. The Sunday calls have stopped. The mass has not. At Greenfield International School, Principal Heloise Mabry kept the wall of 47 names intact through the full academic year. At the end of June, she entered the empty classroom and removed each laminated name, beginning with Tobias, the 47th, working backward through 4 years to the first ones whose edges had softened slightly with time. She placed all 47 in a large envelope, sealed it, and wrote Soleil's name on the front. The wall was repainted. The new teacher decided not to replicate it. She said she did not think she could do it the way Soleil did it. She was right. Detective Amara Suleiman drove to the service road alone the week after sentencing. She parked on the gravel shoulder and walked to the place where the second vehicle's tire tracks had been documented. She stood there looking south at the desert where the track ran and did not return. The forensic markers were long gone. The gravel had been disturbed by wind and time. The highway behind her carried the ordinary morning traffic of a city conducting its ordinary morning business. She stood there until she had stood there long enough. Then she got back in her car and drove north toward the city. Some things stop where they stop. The Arabic textbook stopped at chapter 9. The someday account reached Remedios. The 47 names reached an archive in an envelope with a name on the front. The voice message reached a courtroom. The courtroom reached a verdict. The verdict reached Rayyan Albayt at a defendant's table while he looked at the floor. None of it reached Soleil. If this Dubai true crime story moved you, if it made you think, if it made you angry at the right things, share it with someone. Because Soleil recorded 6 minutes and 14 seconds in her bathroom because she understood that a record, once made, could outlast the person who made it. She was right about that. Her name is in this video. And now it reaches you. If you have not subscribed, please do. And may everyone watching, whether you are here for the first time or you have been here from the beginning, may every door you have been waiting to open finally open for you. Take care of yourselves. See you in the next one.